Doomsday prepper or just smart thinking?
Singing from the top of a lungs, dancing by the lakeside, gonna do it while we're young. In a moment it will all be gone.
Today I'm going to share with you just bits and pieces out of my emergency stockpile. I'm going to show you the types of things I like to actually stock. I'm going to talk about how long I've been doing this for, why I've been doing it, because that has changed over the years, and how it has actually saved us as a family many times. I also want to talk about why this is not just for the doomsday preppers, but actually just for your average everyday Australian family out there, and something that I think everyone should really start thinking about just as a smart thing to actually do. Alright, so we will get to looking through my emergency stockpile for sure, but I just want to address the elephant in the room right now, and that is what is going on in the world. We all know what's going on. If you're here in Australia, everyone is obviously talking about the fuel shortages going on, the price rises in groceries that are happening and going to continue to occur, and perhaps some of the shortages that might actually happen. I think it's really difficult for people to sort of distinguish what's fear-mongering, what's not, and all of that. I guess for me personally, because I've done this for a long time, I just have this going on in my life anyway. But when it comes to what's going on in the world, I have chosen to listen to the farmers. They're the people that are coming out on the news and things, trying to get the word out there so that they can get help from the government with what's going on their farms to actually then help the rest of us. So they're the people I'm really listening to, because they are the people telling the truth, okay? And it is so much bigger than what I actually thought it was too. I really just thought, oh, it's got to do with diesel. They're not going to have enough fuel, so they can't, you know, do the things that they need to do, and then, you know, we just won't have the food. It's not just about the fuel for them. It's really about things like fertilizer for them. You know, fertilizer, which I had no idea about. I think I read and saw a farmer say that it was like 90% of the fertilizer that comes to Australia is actually from around the Middle East. They need like fossil fuels to actually develop the fertilizer. We don't do it here in Australia, I don't think at all, but if we do, it's like a very small percentage in creating the fertilizer that the farmers actually use. So they get a lot of it from overseas. If it can't be made overseas due to the fossil fuels, the shortages on that over there, and then actually even if they can do it, actually trying to get it here to Australia, because we need to, obviously it comes from an area that needs to actually ship through to here. That's not happening at the moment. So that's the fears that they have when it comes to, you know, their farming. So if they don't have the fertilizer, obviously they can't do the crops and all of that. If they get that and they don't have the diesel to actually maintain everything they need to do, then obviously they can't do the crops. So a lot of farmers on the news are talking about how if they don't have enough diesel, they can't obviously use the diesel to actually go and do the crops, go do the planting, all of that. They can't ship it from the farm to where it needs to go to get produced and all of that. And then obviously delivery trucks also won't have the diesel to actually take that food that is prepared to the actual supermarkets. And then obviously we can't get it from the supermarkets. So it's a whole thing. I even saw one farmer say that if he didn't have diesel, then he couldn't actually produce what he needed to, you know, on the farm to feed his cattle. He couldn't get around to his cattle. The cattle would have to be put down if he thought that was going to happen. And so again, with the meat and things too, he couldn't do, couldn't produce the meat for the supermarkets and things too, so that was going to go. He was just very blunt about how things were going to work. You know, if they don't have the diesel, they can't feed the cattle, they can't do the crops, they can't get the stuff to the supermarket, and that's where we're going to have shortages on things like anything to do with wheat, obviously, because they can't do the cropping and stuff. So flours, breads, anything that's made from that was all going to be a shortage on that, because it just wasn't going to exist here in Australia for them to do it. Meats and veggies. So meats, because obviously they won't have the cattle. If they can't feed their cattle and they can't keep them alive, then they're not going to have that. If the fruit and veg, obviously that's an obvious one with, you know, all their harvesting and all that kind of stuff as well. So it just made me think a little bit differently with my emergency stockpile too, because previous to this, I had a lot in my emergency stockpile, like snacks and stuff like that, and now I'm thinking about the things that possibly could run out, and I've exchanged it for that. Alongside me already changing the way we were living anyway before this war happened, I had started making changes to just our general living, on how we were eating and stuff. So I was making a lot more from scratch again. Like I really pushed to actually do that again. So, you know, instead of buying snack stuff, I was really focusing on obviously having the ingredients that I need to do my cooking and stuff. So things have changed a little bit, but it was really had to do for me listening to the farmers, what was going on. I also know some farmers, so I knew when I asked them if they had fuel shortages and all of that, and you know what would happen and could they still harvest and all of that, I got an insight into that. So it was very much thinking, okay, I do believe the farmers and hearing what's going on. Do you know what I mean? So it's just made me think about things a lot clearer, I guess. And I think it's hard for people to sort of know and understand what's going on the news as well, you know, especially when one place is saying this, the other place is saying that and stuff. But look, it's a whole mess, isn't it? So we just need to do what we think we can individually for our family. So I'm going to actually start in my garage with you guys today, because this is where I have my extra fridge, and freezers. So I will talk about how I've got these. This is something I've done over the years. Like, this is not just one day I went and bought all this stuff. Like, it's taken me years to actually do this. And someone actually asked a very, I'll say sensible, important question on my video. This is why I'm doing this video right now. They asked me this question, I think it was on maybe my big grocery haul that I just recently did. And they said, why do you have an emergency stockpile when you live in a town that has, you know, availability with supermarkets and stuff? It was a fair question, and I thought I really should explain that, because anyone that's never like followed me before or watched our lives and seen what's happened, you wouldn't know this, and you probably think, yes, she's a doomsday prepper, why has she got all this stuff when she clearly has like 10 supermarkets around her? But even though that's happened, there has definitely been times when we have needed the emergency stockpile, even when it's got nothing to do with the supermarket. So I do want to talk about that. So my first freezer I ever bought was this chest freezer, and then I ended up getting an upright freezer probably 5 or so years later, and then probably in the last, I think it was the last 12 months, I bought that extra fridge off my friend Rhiannon, to have extra fridge space, and also to have just a little bit extra for freezer, but mostly it was for the actual fridge space. The chest freezer is something I bought when I started having kids. When I first started the channel, which was over 10 years ago, I was having or trying to get pregnant with Isabella, and I did end up getting pregnant with her, and I knew I was going to go in for a C-section. My daughter Isabella is 9, so I literally did this like 10 years ago. So because I was going in for a C-section, I didn't want Johnny to have to worry. Joseph was little as well. That's my oldest son, and I didn't want him to have to worry about cooking and all that. But I was like, how am I going to prepare the house? How am I going to have like 6 weeks worth of stuff, and where am I going to put it, basically? So it would make life a bit easier for him, easier for me, just so much less stress. Besides that, also, I knew I wasn't going to be able to work or do anything. Even at the time I was doing photography and stuff, there's no way I could have done that after having a Caesar, so, and a newborn on top of that, obviously. So I was like, we're gonna have less money coming in as well, so how can I sort of protect ourselves in that? The chest freezer is what I first purchased because I thought I could make freezer meals, I could freeze them up, and we could just get ahead of time. I had 9 months to sort of think about this and sort of slowly stock it up, and that's what I did. Nowadays, this chest freezer, I actually use it for 2 main things. One is vegetables, and the other is, I'll say, my raw meats, so the meats that aren't really cooked. So I actually have in here, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. Oh, you can sort of see. These are the big Kmart tubs. They have holes in the side. I don't think you can purchase these ones anymore, but there are other ones with holes in them where the handles are, so you could still use them. I use these in my chest freezer to keep it organized, and so I know where things are. When I didn't do this, everything was everywhere in a chest freezer. They're quite big. You don't know what you've got, and when you don't know what you've got, you buy extra stuff, things go out of date, things expire, you know, all of the things, you know what I mean? They go bad and all that, just out of quality in a freezer. So I had to think about a way of actually sorting my freezers out that would be functional for me, and just having the tubs is what I did. This side here, we have one big tub here, and then there's another tub underneath, and they are full of vegetables. So I've got things like the main veggies that we use. I have some chopped onions because I like to do that. I know it's cheaper to buy individual onions and cut them up yourself and freeze them, but I don't want to, so I just buy these. I don't like it, I hate it, so this is why I buy these. But mostly in this freezer, it's This big bag here, this bird's eye bag that we love, it's got great veggies in it. It's really good quality, and I like to stock up, especially when they're on special. So I mostly do that. So I've got quite a few bags of these. We have this on the side of meat for dinners, and also I throw this stuff into bulk cooking. Things like this, like my apricot chicken, I can just throw a whole bag of that veggies into here and everything's done. It makes life easy for me to have this kind of stuff done too, because it means I save money, because I don't actually, on a night where I go, I'm too tired to cook the thing that I had planned, I will go and buy takeaway. I don't do that. I can just grab something like this out and literally put some rice on for us, or some sort of potato, you know, if that's an easy option for me. So I use those bags of veggies in a lot of different ways, and it's just an extra way of obviously getting the nutrition in without any like chaos attached to it. Like I don't have to think about chopping everything up and having that stuff on hand and fresh stuff going bad actually in the fridge. You know, it's in the freezer, it's great, and I can just use it. I do sometimes have extra things, like extra baby beans I've got some extra broccoli. This bag here doesn't have a lot of broccoli in it, so sometimes I like to add some extra broccoli. My kids don't eat it, it's just for Johnny and I, but I do have that as well. Sometimes I'll have a bag of peas and corn too, and I'll throw extra into this. So I use this as a basis for things for cooking and stuff, but sometimes I throw extra veggies in there. So I like to have this. I also have, this is all in those two tubs underneath. Okay, I'm not going to pull these out because they're just, like, I'll show you. See, they're all packed with lots of stuff. But they're stir-fry veggies. I like to have these on hand as well, because I will use this mix in particular. This is the one I like. Again, it's bird's eye. I just really like their vegetables, guys. I know it costs a bit extra, but the quality's nice. Because the quality's nice, then we eat it. Like even Johnny and I went back to trying to buy like a cheaper brand. It might have been home brand or something, and it just, I don't know why. Like you'd think vegetables would all be the same, but maybe it's their freezing process or something. That it tasted so bad that even we weren't eating it. So I was wasting money, wasting vegetables. I was throwing it out. So we decided to go back to this because we eat it. Even the kids will eat it. Like sometimes the kids won't eat some things in there and the other child will eat it, so they'll eat off each other's plate, but at least we're eating some vegetables, which is really good. So stir-fry veggies, I have a lot of these because I can make up a lot of different stir-fries. Again, one of those freezer meals too that I can actually make in bulk, put in the freezer, the extra, and just serve it with rice on the night to make life easier. And then I have actually potato chips of some sort. We cook ours not in a deep fryer. We actually cook ours in an air fryer, so you don't add any extra oils or anything like that. So it's really good, it's easy. I don't have to rely on the price of potatoes right now, and I don't have to rely on actually having anything on hand to do it either. It's just throw it in and it's done. These potatoes I actually got on a great deal through Coles on the Uber app. I know I've already said this, so if you're watching and you've seen me say that, then you know about this. If you haven't seen that big grocery shop, I'm going to link up below. Go and have a look at it, because I talked about how I saved around $400 on my groceries that week when I did my monthly shop, due to doing lots of little tricks. This was one of them. Actually buying them through the Uber app, I got them for $3.30. So I stocked up on them because it was going to save me a lot of money. And this side, again, I've got two tubs. I try to do chicken in one, and then the other tub's generally got beef and pork. That's usually the meats that we'll eat. I've put a little bit on top here because, you know, just I've got the space to, so I do that. And it's kind of meats I think I'm probably going to use first, but I'll just show you. So you can see I've got chicken in there at the moment. The one underneath has a lot of like beef sort of steaks that I got in bulk from Costco on a good deal. I also got pork steaks in there, some chops, so a little bit of mincemeat, that kind of thing. Under this, I've actually got more chips stocked, just because these tubs here have mostly these types of veggies. So when I bought all those chips, I needed somewhere to put them, so I just shoved them in there. You can actually really fit a lot in a chest freezer if it's organized and if it's functional. You want it to be functional. Any of these spaces, like even my pantry, it's not so much Pinterest picture worthy, I call it. It's just, I think, functionality for me, what works for me, because I'm the one that's going to go in there mostly and I'm going to use this stuff. So you just want it to be functional and organized so you can see the things you need and get to things that you need. If you can hear that, it's just pouring rain right now, so just ignore that if you can hear it. And I'm probably going to go in and out of focus just because of where I am. There's like no lighting in the garage. With my emergency stockpile, I also have freezer meals, like I said. So for me, my emergency stockpile works as a working pantry is what I call it. So it's an emergency stockpile, so I've got excess, but at the same time I kind of pull from it, and then when I buy groceries I replace it in there. That's how I work it. Okay, so when it comes to like meals and stuff, it's the same deal. I try to have things stocked up. Oh, that rain is really heavy right now. So sometimes I run things down, and I have done that of recent. I've run things down quite low. I need to use a lot of those raw meats now and make some extra meals up and stuff. So a lot of it I went through because Johnny's been on certain shifts at work, so he takes that with him to work, again to save money, because he's not spending money, he's just taking something out of the freezer, heating it up, and it's done. So, and it helps me on those nights too, because you know, I might be something I'll eat, but maybe the kids won't, and I'll give them like veggies and something else. And but I'll have that, you know, whatever he's having, I'll have a serve of that as well. So that's where it works for us. So I like to do freezer meals. You guys, if you've been watching me for a long time, know about these. I do them in the freezer bags, like the Ziploc bags. I just find the ones that say freezer safe, and they're fine, you can use them. I freeze everything flat, like so when I make up the meals, so things like stir fries, casseroles, any sort of marinated meats if you want to cook them up. What else am I thinking of? Spaghetti bolognese, did I say that? Anything like that that will make life easy for you to sort of, but make extra, you know, when you're cooking your normal thing, make extra and then just freeze it. It's going to help you through the week get dinner on the table a lot quicker. I do that, put them in the bags, freeze them flat, and then once they're frozen flat, just find a space, freeze them flat, and then you can put them in your freezer. I have drawers in my freezer. I got this freezer around COVID times, I would say, and it was mostly to do with not just COVID, but actually our financial situation, which I'll talk about in a second, which is how this has actually saved us, the emergency stockpile. But yeah, it's great. I actually got this, it's just a big door, and I actually got this off appliances online. It wasn't very expensive at the time, it was like $250. I don't know how much they are now, but you can often get good deals. We actually got our fridge from there too, so I'm happy with it. It works well, it's been working still, no problems. But it has drawers. So once these meals are frozen, if I've got a lot that I can put in the drawer, then I can sit them up like this, and it's kind of like a filing cabinet. So when I do a big cook up and fill this up, or even if I just keep adding to it, like if I just cook extra on a night or whatever, then I can just continually add to it and sit it up like this. I can see what it is. I still write on the bags, but yeah, it's just easy. If I'm making them for Johnny in particular, sometimes something like this, apricot chicken, I'll cook some rice and actually put a layer of rice in there. So literally he doesn't have to prep anything else. He'll just take this bag with the rice and apricot chicken in it, and then he can, you know, cook it or heat it up at work, and it's great. But during an emergency time, obviously, you know, if we haven't been able to afford groceries or just watching our money, then we've been able to have meals here. I've not even had to worry about it for weeks. I can just come in here, grab something out, and just add some rice to it, you know, something that's cheap and affordable. So I have pre-made meals generally in this drawer, and then this one is, that's usually chicken. This one here is usually beef meals. I've got nothing in there at the moment apart from a shepherd's pie I made up like that, which I did it like this because I was going to use it the next week, but I didn't end up doing it. But otherwise I would have just put it in a freezer bag because it takes up less space than, obviously, look at this, big container like this. So I prefer the bags for sure. And then this drawer here is usually like an overflow of meat that I can't fit in the other freezer, or stuff that's generally already made for a meal that's just frozen, like chicken schnitzels. Sometimes I'll have those chicken parcels, chicken Kievs, things like that that I buy, I'll put into this drawer. I do have like a little door down here, which is kind of a no man's land drawer at the moment. I've got all our bacon, which I buy in bulk, and then I break it down into how many slices that I generally need for cooking. That's all in here. Party food type thing, like this kind of stuff, which is generally, you know, maybe on a weekend or something. Party food Friday for dinner because we've got basketball and everything going crazy. I'll use this kind of stuff. This is an overflow, so I've put that there, the sausage rolls, but I also have stuff in here. So I've got 2 lots of fish, I've got chicken fingers in there that I got on a deal on the Uber app, some dim sims, that type of stuff I keep up in the top. I'll show you my other freezer in a second. So I just want to touch on that question that someone asked me on my video, and they're like, you know, why do you have an emergency stockpile? Do you really need it? I want to tell you guys how it's actually saved us, and I'm so glad we've had it, and I'm just so glad that, you know, when I was having Isabella, I thought, oh, I'm going to start doing this, you know. Before I did any of the stuff I do here on YouTube and have done for the last 10 years, I was spending so much money on groceries, guys. I just had no idea. I was just, yeah, it was a whole thing. When I was having the kids though, I realized obviously I'm not gonna be able to work, we're not gonna have as much money coming in. How can I, you know, cut grocery costs and things? I did a number of things and it literally helped me save over $5,000 a year. And I say that because I was literally spending at least $100, more than $100 per week extra on groceries. I would go and do groceries, but then I'd find myself going to the supermarket pretty much daily, and you go for one thing and you just spend $30 or $40 instead, you know, like, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've done it. And so literally I put things in place that helped me stop overspending and doing that. And it just saved us, you know what I mean, in time. So I wasn't having to think about like a struggle of food or anything when I had the kids, because we had less income. I didn't have to think about that. The freezers has definitely helped, and having the freezer meals and doing little bits and pieces like that has definitely helped. When it came to me doing an emergency stockpile and how that was useful for us, it initially started out to just help save money, obviously, and bulk things up for when I was actually going to have Isabella. That's really what it was about at the time. I soon realized that it was more than that, obviously. So over the years, it has helped save us in times of Johnny changed jobs. We didn't have income coming in for at least a month just because of the way that the pay worked with the new job. So we didn't have to buy groceries, and if we did buy any, it was probably very minimal. We had an emergency stockpile that saved us and helped us get through that point. And then when we did that and things were good, then I redid it up again. I would say probably that was around 2019 that actually happened. Anytime we've had high bills come up, especially when I first had Isabella, you know, we've got 2 kids, Joseph had started school, like we had that extra cost and everything. When we had extra high bills come in and maybe we couldn't afford as much for groceries that week, without having the panic of money, we could just do less in the groceries and we had the emergency stockpile to fall back on. Like, it was just one of those things, because sometimes unexpected bills come in, higher costs come in that you're just not expecting. You know, the car breaks down and maybe you don't have spare money for that. Well, you can use that money, you've got your food, you don't need to stress about it. Obviously 2020 things happened for us. Even though we live in a town that has I think over 10 supermarkets, I'm gonna say, things still ran out. The foods that we were eating, the things that the little kids were eating at the time and stuff, that stuff was running out. So I had backup of that. And so that helped us sort of sustain that for quite a while until the supermarkets were able to get stock in here and there, you know. So we were lucky, obviously, in 2020 that supermarkets did come back and things did happen. I think this time might be a bit different. If what happens, like the farmers are saying, then that could be a real problem, obviously. But you know, the supermarket shelves might not restock for quite some time, is what I'm trying to say. But you know, also with the COVID thing, people did panic buy, and when they panicked buy, then, you know, things were running out because people didn't have just a backup. If you have some sort of emergency stockpile like this, just even starting one now, just little bits here and there each week, if you've got something, you're not going to feel the urgency of going to panic buy, because you can sit there and just go, okay, I'm okay, I don't need to do that. The problem with panic buying as well is when people panic buy, then the people that sit here and say, I'm not panic buying, I'm not buying this and that, they're gonna run out of food. They're gonna miss out on food, you know? So it's just, it helps avoid all of that. And I do truly believe that people definitely learnt from that time, and probably most people have some sort of emergency stockpile, even if it's, you know, a small amount. They have that because they learnt from that time. They probably learnt the things that they ran out of, that they don't want to run out of, and that works for their family, whatever they eat, and they have that on hand now. So, you know, 2020, it's a pandemic. We never thought something like that would ever happen again, especially this soon, like 5 years later, and here we are with a war and everything going on, you know. It's just, life is unpredictable and you don't know what's going to happen. So even though we live in a town that's got 10 supermarkets plus, we still have over 100,000 people that live here, so things still run out, basically. Another time it's really helped us is in times of, you know, maybe I've not made so much money, like for the week or for the month or whatever, because I'm self-employed. So that's, you know, there's less pressure on me too to overwork myself, because, you know, we've got this as a backup, so that's been helpful. There's been times where I've not been able to work, where either I've been really sick and I'm not being able to do anything, and so I've not had that income coming in, so we've still had food there's no stress about that. My son Joseph last year, he got really super sick, ended up in the hospital, and I just stayed with him for like 3 weeks or something. You know, we're at Royal Children's at one point and all of that. So I was not grocery shopping, I was not working to have the extra money to do things. So, you know, the extra money helps pay bills and do all the fun stuff that we want to do as well, obviously. So without that, obviously, we really had to knuckle down financially, and the emergency stockpile saved us again, you know what I mean? There's just been so many times that it has saved us. Sickness, job loss, if there's been job loss, which is, we've not had job loss, but we've changed jobs. Just the rising costs, that's another thing. Like, if you can get sales and things like that and actually stock it up, do it. Like, I don't need that many bags of chips this week, obviously. There's like 10 bags or something. I don't need it, but I got it for nearly half the price. So I've saved money there, and I've able to put it in there, and I can spend that money instead of having to buy chips that week or potatoes of any sort, you know, maybe next week. I can actually use that money on buying something else that we need instead, like food wise, or maybe getting a different sale item, you know what I mean? So it's, yeah, it's just, that's really the biggest reason why I've done this. It's just, there's so many reasons why an emergency stockpile will save you. It's not about the end of the world, and it's not always about you know, COVID happening and everyone panic buying, you know what I mean? There's just day-to-day stuff happen. People lose jobs, people don't have as much money, extra bills come in, people get sick. Like, it just will save you. This freezer here, at the moment, I'm using this mostly for bread, obviously. So I've bought a bread maker now from Kmart, absolutely love it. I'm making so many different things and saving so much money. Not necessarily with the bread, like I do make loaves of bread and it is cheaper than me buying it, but I'm making things like bread rolls that are saving me money. I'm making like pizza scrolls, cheesy mites, I'm doing that kind of stuff. So lots of different things, which has been fantastic. But bread like this, while I can get it, I like to sort of have it in the freezer. I also have wraps up here. So if bread was to run out, for example, like I know in COVID there was a shortage of bread sometimes in different parts. If I don't have bread, I have other alternatives. I've got things like wraps. I've got stuff like, oh, I can't say this, but these are like a Lebanese pita bread, which we actually use for pizzas as well. So we have other bread alternatives. Also actually in my pantry, like my dry goods area too, we have like rice cakes, you know, you can have that and things like that as well. So that helps. I actually do have some frozen fruit here. Again, I got this on great super deal on the Uber app and also on DoorDash, because some of it I think was from Aldi. Oh no, not this lot. This was just from Coles, I think, on the DoorDash. Uber app, sorry. I got it so cheap compared to what it was. And even so, like the strawberries, for example, were down to like $3 a bag or something. So that was cheaper than me buying that fresh in the supermarket. We like to have frozen fruits for mostly smoothies, and Johnny will put it on his breakfast on oats and stuff like that. We can put it in pancakes. There's lots of different things we do with them. So it's nice to have this stuff frozen on hand. Obviously, if the farmers can't, you know, do their crops of fruit and all that kind of stuff, we've got some frozen fruit, so we can use that as backup as well. This fridge, I don't really have a lot in it at the moment, but I do have backups of margarine. I've got butter that I use for cooking. I've got some extra eggs. I did have like 3 lots here, but I'm about to do my monthly shop again soon, so I'll have more eggs then. I've got cheeses. That's just obviously cans that we've got. Some extra veggies and stuff I can put down here that I can't fit in the other freezer. The other thing I want to move into here at some point is probably my flour, because I've got room in here. So when I say flour, I mean this kind of like self-raising flour. Bread flour I have down in here, which is what I use in my bread maker. I love this flour. It's so awesome. Makes the best bread ever. So this kind of stuff to stop it from getting, oh, what are they called? They're like little bugs, like weasels? Is that what it's called? I'm not sure. I've got these in plastic bags to try to help, but also if you put this in fridges and freezers, it will help kill off the eggs and stuff, so it will last longer. So bread, if you can put this in the freezer, will give you an extra year or so, I think, on it, past the use by date. So I don't have room in my freezer, so the fridge is where I'm going to probably move a lot of this stuff. All right, so I'm going to talk about this area here, and this is Snuggies. This is my cat. This is where I'm building up, obviously, my day-to-day sort of dry goods. And I do pull from here and put it into our actual normal pantry. This is literally our linen cupboard in the hallway because that's what I was using. I didn't have a lot of space, and this is what I decided to use for this. So in the past, when I've actually done videos like this, I've had comments from people, and it's a common comment, right? People will say, I don't have the room to put anything, you know, all these dry goods and stuff. I just don't have the space. I have many times over the years, we've lived in different houses, so we've had different sort of space availability. This house has a good kitchen. It looks big, but it's not. It just has no storage. So I took over the linen closet because we don't have an excessive amount of linen. You know, we literally have maybe an extra set of sheets for each bed, and we just keep it in the top of the wardrobes in the bedrooms. So that's why I use this. But in the past, when I haven't had something like this, for example, we have put stuff in tubs, and I've stored those tubs in a hallway or a spare bedroom, under beds if you can do it, that kind of stuff. I know at one house I had like these low line storage containers I had from Kmart, and I stored them literally underneath the kids' bunks because I could fit it there, and I didn't have anywhere else to put it. The only thing you got to think about is trying to make it a cool, dark spot. So nothing that's going to overheat or get heated up easily. So if you're doing it in a spare room, for example, in a wardrobe that maybe you're not using, obviously, because it's just a spare room, then you just want to make sure during summertime, for example, I make sure that door there is open so the air conditioning gets in and that room doesn't overheat, because some things will go bad, obviously, in the heat. So they're just some things to think about. You don't always have to have a perfect storage room or an extra pantry of any sort, or a big pantry. You know, you can just store things on shelves in other rooms or in tubs and stuff, and just, yeah, make sure you know where everything is. That's the key. So right now for me, like I said, I don't have a lot of snacky things. So I do have shapes that I got on special. I've got a few boxes of these. I have some spare muesli bars, which I've actually just pulled some out of here and put them in the pantry. So when I do groceries, that just needs to be restocked and rotated. Some dry bickies. I do have popcorn up here, and then this tub here actually had some bags of chips and stuff. But because we don't have a lot of this kind of stuff now, like lots of different varieties, I don't have to have a lot of space for it. I really focused on this type of stuff, like things that I was making stuff. So I have marshmallows here. I do have these because I use these to make bubble bars. I have cereals up here that I use for the bubble bars, and plus cereals just to have, obviously, for breakfast and stuff. I've got sultana bread and stuff like that. But other things I use to make those things is what I wanted to stock up on. So that's where I really focused this time. I probably changed my stockpile probably 3 to 4 months ago, and this is what I focused on, was doing more of this stuff. So I have, obviously, self-raising flour. I have bread flour because I've got the bread maker. You can use this flour and make bread by hand, but it's so hard. I like the bread maker, so I use that. Obviously I need yeast to do bread, I need oil to do bread and other cooking things, so I've got spare of that. Sugar is obviously something that I need. I do have popcorn kernels as well, because we will make some of our own popcorn. I have lots and lots and lots of different choc chips and stuff, because I use this for a different number of recipes. So not just like choc chip cookies, but I'll do like cakes and muffins. I'll use some of these on the bubble bars when I make them, lots of that. Oats, Johnny loves oats, like making overnight oats, so he does that with that fruit in the freezer. But this also I throw into the bubble bars for extra fibre and things like that, so I like to have this on hand. You can put this into muffins, you can do lots of stuff with this, and it goes pretty far and it helps you keep full. If there was a shortage of some sort, something like this is going to help, you know, fill bellies, and people aren't really going to notice it as much as well, actually, in the recipes, depending on what you're making. So it's a good little thing to just add in to help with. It's kind of like when people buy the beans and put it in spaghetti bolognese, which I don't do, but like lentils and stuff, you know, that it helps stretch it further and, you know, makes you fuller as well. I do have a lot of mayonnaise in here because I actually use this in a recipe that I could do. I use this in a recipe that I can do, which will be available soon when I relaunch the This Melt Home website. I've just made some changes on it and going into a different direction with it business wise. So I will have coming up for you guys though a free recipe book on basically a cupcake base that I do, and 20 different ways of doing it, and things that you can use out of an emergency stockpile like this. So if you don't have, there's no eggs or milk required, so you know the key ingredient is this with it, but you can, you know, use your emergency stockpile if things were running low or you couldn't afford groceries and stuff. If you've got this, which, you know, you can keep in the cupboard for months and months and months, then you can use this and still make those types of things. Still have something that's a little bit filling, because it's homemade too. I've always found the homemade stuff's a little bit more filling than buying the supermarket stuff. But also just mentally, like, who doesn't want cupcakes when things are bad, you know? So I've got that free recipe book coming up for you guys. It will come up shortly, but that's why I actually have so much of the mayonnaise. Obviously condensed milk, I make a lot of slices and things like that. Cocoa, always need that when I'm doing chocolate stuff, which we love. Vanilla extract, use a lot of that as well. So I really focused on obviously that kind of stuff when it came to snack stuff. Doesn't have to be healthy stuff, it's just my snack stuff. I have a little bit over here for like fun dessert type things. I do have some cake mixes, but I'm trying to run through those right now because I started making my own stuff a lot more at home. So this is kind of the last of it that I'm running through. But pancake mix, this is good just to have on hand. I think the use by on this, oh no, this is nearly out, but I've had this for like over 12 months probably. So this is something that would be good to have in an emergency stockpile as well, because if things run out like flour and stuff again, which my supermarkets right now, trying to get this type of flour is very difficult, and even the other self-raising flour is running out at the moment because people must just be buying a lot of it and stocking up. So having this kind of stuff where you don't have to add anything but water, this is a great alternative. You can turn this into a number of different things, you know, throw some fruit in it, you can make pancake cupcakes, that type of thing. So this is cheap, this is the one from Aldi, and it's great, you just add water into it. So in an emergency situation, it's a good thing to have. And then also stuff like rice cakes, like I said, when you don't have bread, if you can't get bread, you can't make bread, it's not available, whatever, or you can't afford it, then having rice cakes is a good alternative as well. Like, we like these, they're pretty plain, so you can do a lot of different things on them, and the kids will eat them just with like Vegemite on them, you know what I mean, or just a piece of cheese or peanut butter. Peanut butter is very popular with this so far, so these are always great to have on hand. Obviously staples like pasta, I have a ton of pasta. We do eat a lot of it, that's why I do have this, but I rotate through this and do lots of different things with the pasta. So I've got a whole big tub here. This drawer, lots of people ask me about this drawer. It's what I use in my pantry as a functional sort of space for things as well. It's got wheels on it, it's from Kmart, and you can just pull it in and out, and it's got little dividers that you can take out like I have, or you can move them as well, which is really good. They're not very expensive, and you can buy different sort of heights as well. So if you're looking for something like that, I would recommend it. Rice, we eat a lot of rice. It's like Johnny and the kids' favorite food. Don't ask me why, but it is. Johnny got me, I never ate rice until I met Johnny, and then he got me onto it. But it goes far, and it's great to have it on the side of a meal to help fill you up, you know. So in times of need, this is a perfect thing to have. This is something else you should keep in a fridge or freezer if you can as well, because they can get those little bugs in them as well, like if it overheats and stuff. So yeah, that's something you could do with that. But we do have a lot of rice, and we have a lot of noodles because, you know, we have kids and kids love noodles, so we have these as well. Down here, I do have soft drink down here. This is just kind of where we keep drinks because I've got nowhere else to keep them in the house. This is the last of it, but I do have a lot of lemonade because I make lemonade scones. So we have that, but otherwise we have this just for our normal drinking. It's not something we have to have an emergency stockpile. This is just where we keep it. Tinned things. So we at the moment have some tinned type fruit. This is not tinned fruit, this is those little tubs, but I do need to restock on actual tinned fruit because I don't have any. Tinned stuff will last years and years and years, okay? Some of them don't even have expiry dates on them. They probably should for quality and stuff, but as long as the tin is not damaged, it will last you so long. So I like to stock up on the stuff obviously that we have. I do want to put more tinned fruit, not just these plastic tubs in, because I'm really low on them. Tinned tomatoes also, I have a lot of these because I use this a lot in different recipes, so I like to have that on hand. We do have a few of these little tin baked beans, like if you were really struggling, stuff like that, you can live off, you know what I mean? So you have that. This is just backup on what we already actually have, so that's why I've got that. Soup is another thing. Love soup. If you're, you know, able to get veggies or not able to afford them and stuff, if you can get the kids, it's hard to get my kids to eat this. They'll eat the tomato soup, but not so much this. But for Johnny and I, or if you've got kids that will, it just depends what you eat as a family, obviously. We love this brand of soup. This is amazing. You can literally just put this in the pot and heat it up and it's done, and it's great. The quality, the taste is so nice. I've actually tried the Heinz soup and I don't like it, so it's probably, if you're buying stuff like this, you want to buy it, like try maybe 1 tin or something and decide what you like and then buy it, because I had Heinz stuff at one point and I was like, oh, I didn't like it. It was a real struggle to actually finish it off because I was like, I just don't like this flavor. Once we're out of that and I found this is what we brought. So the farmhouse vegetable we love, the rich and creamy pumpkin. There's a butternut pumpkin one too, but I don't like that, but this one I do like. And then I've also got a creamy chicken one as well. These are the ones we like. These can be expensive, however I've just done a restock of mine because, and I've got some in the pantry as well for just eating this week basically. These were on special, actually by the time you see this video they might still be on special at Coles for I think $2.25, which is half price. They're normally $4.50. So around this time of the year, winter time, this kind of stuff will go on sale, and get it when it's on sale. I don't buy it at full price. $4.50 is expensive, but when it's on sale I get a ton of it and I just have it on hand. So we rotate through that obviously because we love it. Pasta sauces is something else that I buy. Just get the cheap Woolworths one, love it. I add extra veggies into it that I have frozen, that I grate up and stuff and just have in the freezer as a bulk prep thing. Oh, this kind of thing too. This condensed chicken soup I actually use for a base for like chicken pies and casseroles and stuff like that. So this kind of stuff that you can stretch far is great to have on. I don't have a lot of meal bases right now. I've tried to steer a little bit clear of some of them, so this is kind of the last of what I've got, but things I will continue to buy are the chicken tonight ones that I really love, like the cacciatore. We do have a lot of the packet stuff. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know we like this brand here. These are great, and most of the time I just have to add water to them, or maybe that tin of diced tomatoes to it, something like that. It's pretty simple. I don't have to add anything too crazy to these ones. Always have a look at the packets, but there's lots of different ones. Stuff like this is not going to take up too much space in your pantry. You know, if you don't have a lot of space, these are great to have. But otherwise I do have things like stir fry sauces. I just found for us personally, like if I buy every single sauce under the sun to actually then make one sauce, it costs me a lot more because we don't go through it too, like it's, and we like different flavors, so I'm not always going to have 100 bottles open up in the fridge when I'm making this stuff. So we do have these on hand and we like these. You can get them fairly cheap at different places. These ones are from Aldi, which is good, so have a little bit of that. Spreads, always good to have some spreads too. We go through a lot of jam because I use it for cooking and stuff, but also Isabella loves it, so we have that. I don't have any Vegemite or peanut butter at the moment, but those two things, I've just put them in my pantry, are things I like to have on hand as well, especially peanut butter. You don't get a long shelf life on peanut butter, but it's good to have on hand and rotate through. I've got some lemon juice even. I know it's not as good as the fresh stuff, but it's got a little bit of additives in it as far as like your acidity regulators and stuff like that, but otherwise it's like 99% lemon juice, so I do have that. Sauces, honey, we go through a ton of honey, oils, anything I need to actually cook with, it's good to have on hand, especially if you can get that kind of stuff on sale because it's expensive. Pizza based sauce, that's the one we like. And then obviously seasonings, like usually for us it's a lot of just salt and pepper. Like I don't use a lot of other things. I do have some things in the pantry, but refill wise I just need this because this always helps obviously when you're making stuff, especially if it's very basic. Having that stuff obviously helps with flavour. These I just have extra because I bought in bulk at Costco, but I've got extra Zupa Dupas because Isabel loves them. And I do have some hot chocolate as well, which I've still not gone through. The other thing I should mention is for us, we have a cat. So this cat food, for example, is pretty expensive, but I buy it in bulk when I can get it half price, which I did. So this is normally around $26 and I got it for 13 something, you know, so it was a good deal. Obviously when you're thinking about an emergency stockpile, you need to think about your pets as well, because especially if you've got a cat like mine that just will not eat human food, he won't eat it. So I can't give him what we're eating, you know, he needs to have that or he just gets so hungry and starts eating grass. So I like to have that on hand for him as well. So obviously no family's the same, everyone eats different things. You know, you might have kids that will not touch vegetables or fruit at all, you know, so you need to think about what's best for your family. But I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing with mine and how I'm doing my my emergency stockpile just a little bit different if you've been following me for the last 10 years, because obviously in the past when you've seen this stuff, I've got a lot of snacks, especially from Costco, because I can buy it in bulk and store it. But because I've steered away from that, my real focus is on ingredients that I can store well, store it for a long time, and actually use it to make other things, and not just one thing but make many different things. That's really what works for us. So it's made actually building a stockpile, you know, easier and less costly, because I can do that as well. So but it really depends on what your family does. I'm just giving you some ideas. Obviously not everyone's going to be able to go and run out and get 3 freezers or whatever like that as well. I do know in COVID, like, people were struggling to buy freezers because people did go out and buy freezers, and then places sold out of freezers. Like, that was the crazy thing. But you know, if you've got the extra money and you've got the space, you know, add in a second-hand fridge, a second-hand freezer. I bought my extra fridge from my friend, you know, and you don't have to spend a huge amount of money, and you don't have to spend it on brand new stuff. You can buy secondhand and just, you know, have it where you can to store extra stuff if that's what you want to do, you know. The only other thing I think, especially with what's going on, things that might happen in the future, you know, we use fuel for a lot of things, and one of those things apparently helps with running electricity and stuff. So look, if the electricity goes and we can't do the electricity for whatever in Australia, or we're having shortages and stuff, freezers are not going to be good for me. Obviously I'm going to lose all that food, so it is important for me to have sort of backup stuff in the pantry, stuff that we could live off as well. So I guess that's the only other thing that you want to consider. And oh, I should mention that too, it's not just the things that have helped us, you know, in times of need, but you know, there have been times even here in Australia where we have a lot of flooding. For example, flooding that's happened in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. It's still going on in Queensland right now. That can affect things immensely. I know in Victoria, on the other side of Melbourne, sort of Mornington Peninsula sort of way, I know a few years ago when there was like storms and stuff, people went out without electricity for a week. They did not have water. Water is super important. I've got water down there actually. I buy these big boxes. I like to have water on hand. We don't have any filters and stuff. That's something I should probably have, but we don't. But water, they couldn't get water. They go to the supermarket. Everyone had bought it. So water's important to have. But not only that, they didn't have water, but they didn't have electricity. When you don't have electricity, it can't help run the water system either. So, you know, things can happen unexpectedly. Who would have thought that would happen for a week, where those people, I know one of you guys, I don't want to say your name, but one of you guys was living over there and you had no electricity for a week, so all your stuff went bad. You know, you got to have backup for that stuff. So I guess we just don't realize what things happen behind the scenes to actually make life very functional. So it's just, anything can happen, you know what I mean? Anything. Alright, so that is my emergency stockpile. This is where I'm going to answer the question, doomsday prepping or just smart thinking. Obviously for me, I think it's smart thinking. It's helped us many times over the years, and it's something you can easily build up. You don't have to do it all in one go. You can just slowly build it up, so you're not panic buying, but you can do it. And what I would do first is just start with the things I think that are most important to your family. If things were to, I don't know, shut down next week, what do you need to have in your pantry that can help you get through the next 2 weeks? You know what I mean? Like, start there, think wise. So otherwise, if you think long term, obviously it's going to be panicsville and you won't be able to focus on it. But just think about, if everything shut down next week, the supermarkets were out of everything, what are the things, the basic things that you would need just to get you through? You know, it's not going to be the fancy chips or the fancy muesli bars like I've got right now. It's going to be the individual ingredients, most likely your meats and veggies, fruit. You know, that's what you're really going to need. So that's where I would always start, to think about what's the most important thing that you need, and look at what you've already got, because some of this stuff you might already have on hand, and really when you look at it, you might already have stuff that's actually going to last you for the next 2-3 weeks anyway. You know what I mean? So you don't have to, if you've got enough like meat and veg in your freezer right now, don't start there. Think about the pantry stuff. think about that stuff that you could be buying instead, because you already have this stuff. So just think wisely about starting it and how you're actually going to start, and focus on the things that are really most important, basically. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope this video helped you guys in some way. Please share this video if you know anyone that needs this type of content. Please subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Bye.